Hello, fellow American football fan. AmericanTj here. We are now on YouTube. Round of applause, please. Round of applause. We're now on YouTube. A lot of people on the TikTok have been asking me, we need some longer form content. A lot of you have been telling me this. Longer form content. If you ask, you will get. Just have to ask quite a bit. But we're now on YouTube. I thought for my first video, as it is mock draft season, why not start with a mock draft? That's the best thing to do, right? Today, we're just going to do one round mock draft. I wanted to do two, but I just think that's being a bit greedy. I think one is nice to start off with. If this video gets 50 likes, we'll do a 2 round mock draft next week. If this video gets 50,000 likes, we'll do a 7 round mock draft tomorrow morning. 50,000 likes. I've got like 26 subscribers as of now. LOL. But as you can see here, we're on Pro Football Focus, the best place to do your mock draft simulations. I'm not sponsored by Pro Football Focus. However, anyone from Pro Football Focus that's watching this, my email is somewhere on here. So if you need some British representation, let me know. But let's not waffle. Let's get straight into it. Don't want to do that. We'll go for all teams. We're going to do a first round mock draft. Let's get it going. I don't have any notes in front of me. This is just going to be off the top of my head. This is what I would do if I was every GM. That's a lie. If it was what I would do, you probably wouldn't watch this video because there'll be a few players that wouldn't go in the first round. So we'll do what I think is going to happen, and we'll go from there. So pick number 1, Tennessee Titans. They're on the clock. We're just going to start at QB. Let's just start at QB. I think a lot of people know that the Tennessee Titans are most likely going to be drafting a QB. Reports coming out that they've already met with Cam Ward. Obviously, probably met with Shador Sanders as well. You know, swings and roundabouts. You got to meet with every player. That's projected to be in the first round essentially. But we know that they have spoken with Cam Ward. Very interesting. The way that I look at the quarterback class in this draft is you have 2 players that could potentially be very good, and you've just got a bunch of other players that may or may not be very good. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tough one. I've got Cam Ward and Shador Sanders in their own class, in their own bracket, essentially. And then after that, you've got Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, I'd say is in another class. And Jackson Dart. And then you kind of have the rest. Mark Gronowski, he's transferred now, so I don't think he shouldn't be here. He's not getting drafted anyway. But Jackson Dart is a very interesting prospect. Graham Mertz is interesting. Yeah. Is he getting drafted? I don't think so. But we'll start with another 1 pick. I do think it'll be Cam Ward. Do I think they should draft Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans? No. I like Will Levis. Well, that's no. Let's not go that far. I don't like Will Levis. I just think for the value of quarterback that you're getting in this draft, I would run it back with Will Levis. I think he's serviceable at quarterback. Obviously, like, he's prone to a mistake. He throws a lot of picks, but if you're not really looking for, over 7 wins, just due to the overall kind of look of your roster, then is it worth it? I don't think it's worth drafting Cam Ward, but I do think that's what they're going to do. I might be wrong. Cam Ward might be the next Patrick Mahomes. But from what I kind of see from his tape, I think he's very raw. I think he's incredibly raw. We look at let's look at his stats for this season. 39 TDs, 7 interceptions, up from last year, 25 TDs, 7, and then up from the year before, 23 and 9. He's obviously played a very good season, 67.2% completion percentage, and 4 and a bit thousand yards. 9.5 yards per attempt is really good as well, and a 119, basically 120 pass rating. I mean, he's good. Like, he's a good college quarterback. He's a very good college quarterback. I wouldn't say that he's been the best college quarterback this year, but he's good. I just think he misses some of the fundamentals. Like, realistically, the way that I'd put it, if he was in last year's draft, what number quarterback would he be? Because he's not going before Caleb. He's not going before Jaden Daniels. He's not going before Drake May. He's not going before Michael Penix. Is he going before Bo Nix? I don't know. Let's go to pick number 2. So we got the Cleveland Browns. Would I go for quarterback? I don't think so. I think the Cleveland Browns, I think that they're someone in that head office. If anyone says QB, at least one person will stand up and be like, sir, are you not tired of drafting QBs? Especially QBs in the draft. That isn't a QB draft. If the Browns have one more QB that they draft that doesn't work, that's just not a good look for whatever GM is there. If you're the guy that just kind of compounds like the Browns' unlucky quarterback luck, obviously Johnny Manziel of recent, and then Baker Mayfield, who just didn't work. He's a good quarterback. He's proven that this season with the Bucks, but he just didn't work. But so many quarterbacks that have been drafted by the Browns that don't work. If you want another flop of a quarterback, this draft will give you the best chance to have that. And I just think if you are a smart head office who knows your team's history of drafting QBs, you do anything to avoid that. So I'm going Travis Hunter. Line him up opposite Denzel Ward. He'll be a great cornerback too. And the thing with Travis Hunter is this kid is scary. Like, actually scary. Like, even here, like, you just have his kind of cornerback stats by alignment. But, like, he's also, you know, a very good wide receiver in college. Not the best, but he's very good. And the way I like to describe Travis Hunter as a draft prospect is you're basically getting 2 opportunities in one. 2 opportunities to fail, but 2 opportunities to succeed. Because if this guy doesn't work at cornerback, or you're not quite liking him at cornerback, you then have the prospect of playing him at wide receiver. If he doesn't work at wide receiver, you can do vice versa. You've got so many opportunities with this guy that from a draft value perspective, he will give you the most value from a player. He will be the one player that gives you the most opportunity to have instant impact on that offense. Or defense. Most probably defense, though. But yeah, Travis Hunter, Browns, Cleveland Browns, if you're watching this, anyone in the Browns organization, just listen to American TJ. Do not draft the guy that, if he falls to number 3, the New York Giants will draft. These guys are desperate. And Dabo, he needs something. I am a Colorado fan. I love Shedeur Sanders. Like, absolutely love him. I think he's ready to start in the NFL. I wouldn't say that about Cam Ward. I would give Cam Ward a year. If you need to play Shedeur Sanders, I think you can play him in his first year. Cam Ward, I think he's just going to throw a lot of interceptions. And yeah, he just doesn't quite have some of the pro-level fundamentals that I would like to ask of a player of his standard. I like Cam Ward more from a potential and ceiling prospect, and obviously he's got the athletic kind of tangibles that you can use, like his insane arm. Obviously he can escape the pocket. He's very elusive. He's got that escapability. Both from like a character perspective, both guys are, I wouldn't say they're humble, but I think that they're adults. You're not drafting a child with Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Both have been through a lot of adversity, and both have come out on the other side as top 5 draft prospects. So I wouldn't say anything about their character, but I think with Shedeur Sanders, I think there's less of an opportunity there for a bust. Number 4 overall pick, New England Patriots. Now this is an interesting one because the Pats, they could bolster that offense and go for TT McMillan, my favorite player in college football. If you haven't watched any Tetairoa McMillan highlights, if you're new to T-Mac, TT McMillan, to TT McMimi, then you just watch him. 6'5", insane athleticism. Like, his catch radius, he can catch it everywhere. Catch radius is nuts. 84 receptions this year, down from last year. Bit of a down year, but I think Arizona have had a bit of a down year anyway. 8 TDs, 1,300 receiving yards. And he can play everywhere. He can play everywhere. In the slot, 105 snaps. Out on the outside, 379 snaps. The kid can play everywhere. And he's just one of those prospects that I look at and I think, if he can stay healthy, and if he can kind of just bridge the gap between what a college wide receiver is and what an NFL wide receiver is. Some do it quicker than others, but I think he'll do it very quickly just because of his size and his athleticism. But I don't think the Pats will go there. I think the Pats will go for this guy, Will Campbell. Best tackle in the draft? I don't know. Will he play tackle? Probably not. Doesn't have the quickest feet, to be honest. Takes him a long time to re-engage his feet. Got to remember, at the NFL level, when you're a left tackle, you've got 180 degrees to your left to defend. And if you don't have quick feet, if you're really directional with your hips, if you kind of face ways, very kind of jagged, then edge rushers are just going to go to the outside and then quickly move across your face. And before you know it, you've let up a sack. And as Will Campbell said, you can't be letting up sacks as a lineman. That's what happens if you want to work at Amazon. However, Patriots do need a guard, and I think they draft him. He might get some snaps at tackle, but I think ultimately this is a very, very good NFL guard. Only real kind of thing that you worry about is the fact that he's played no snaps at guard in college, but the guy learns quick. Day one starter when he jumped on campus at LSU, automatically just took that left tackle spot. And he's a dog, or as you Americans say, he's a dog. Number 5 pick now. I think this one's pretty easy. Jags needs some serious help in their secondary, and there's only one person I think that can do that, and that is Michigan corner Will Johnson. Big cornerback. Great skills. Again, another player that I don't think has got much bust potential. Coming off an injury this year, obviously only played 6 games, but I think even coming off of an injury, this guy is going to be a serious cornerback talent. And he's going to do wonders to that Jaguars secondary. 6, Raiders. Raiders need a whole lot. I think the Raiders are in a spot where they can be slightly creative with this year's draft. They do need a QB, but Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are gone. The next best QB you have, PFF think it's Dylan Gabriel. I would not draft Dylan Gabriel anywhere before the 60th pick, really. I think there's 60 other players that you can get a lot more value from, regardless of position. Do they go for Jalen Milroe? Do they reach? I don't think they should. Don't draft Jalen Milroe in the first round. Obviously, from an athletic standpoint, absolute monster. Running back, essentially with an above-average arm that can, get him to start for Alabama. But this season has just been poor. 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 63% completion rate. It's just not good, is it? I watched a lot of his games, especially that game against Oklahoma. Him and the offense just crumbled. You cannot be putting up 3 points against Oklahoma, an Oklahoma team that just wasn't good this season. What I think the Raiders would do here, pair someone up with Brock Bowers. Go T.T. McMillan. Because if now you don't have another good season and you're drafting top 10 again next season, you could get a very good quarterback. Maybe like a Nussmeier that you can have behind T.T. McMillan and Brock Bowers, and all of a sudden you have got an incredibly dynamic and potent offense. So just look to the future, Oakland. Las Vegas. Next up, we've got the Jets. Literally no questions from here. Mason Graham. just makes so much sense. Get someone on the inside that is going to pair up nicely with Kenan Williams. Mason Graham and Kenan Williams on the interior. Any edge rusher that the Jets decide to start next season will just have so much fun because a lot of that attention will be on the interior with Mason Graham and Kenan Williams. So yeah, no brainer there. Carolina Panthers will go Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State. Getting a lot of comps with Micah Parsons. I don't think he's as good as Parsons, but same kind of dynamic. Obviously wears number 11, obviously Penn State, but this guy, again, scary talent. Best season he's had. A lot of players, sometimes they regress in their third season, sometimes they improve, you never know, but 12 sacks, 9 hits, 37 hurries. At 9, we'll go edge out of Georgia, Mikael Williams. Number 10, will this be our second tackle? This will be our second tackle. A tackle that I very much like. Very glad that he hasn't got injured in these playoffs. But we've got Kelvin Banks Jr. Again, slightly different tackle prospect to Will Campbell. But the Chicago Bears need help on that offensive line. And they need help seriously. Because if you can't give Caleb Williams a good pocket, he will plummet. He will freefall. And the best thing that you can give a quarterback is coverage. And with coverage, they'll get confidence. With confidence, you know how it goes. So I would give that number 10 pick to the Chicago Bears. Get some protection for Caleb Williams. And you've already got the pieces on the offense and some on defense where if Caleb Williams has got time, then you might be able to do something next season. I'm going to try and get through 11 to 20 a bit quicker just because I don't want this video to be hitting 40 minutes long. But 11, we'll go back-to-back tackles. San Francisco, Josh Simmons. Trent Williams is getting older. Injuries are stacking up. You need to look for a replacement here. Josh Simmons, very good prospect coming out of Ohio State. Has just thoroughly improved over the last 3 seasons. We knew that he would potentially be a draft pick when he first got started, but he's played very well. Can also operate at right tackle. Played a lot of his snaps at right tackle, but as soon as he moved to left tackle, that's when you saw the skill with Josh Simmons. And you need some type of long-term plan for Trent Williams. The Niners could go in a bunch of other directions, but there's a reason why left tackles are paid so well. There's a reason why O-linemen are so important. Don't lose one. Lose one and then replace him, if that makes literally any sense. Dallas Cowboys, I'd love to be creative here and go someone else, but I'm going to go Ashton Genty. When you look at just pure player value outside of position, probably the number 2 player in the draft behind Travis Hunter. Just look at these grades from PFF. I don't agree with the grades of PFF all the time, but just scary. 29 touchdowns, 14 games played, 2,595 yards, 6.9 yards per attempt. Yeah. I said this on a TikTok live last night when someone tried to say, Ashton Genty isn't that good. When you have a running back, the one thing you need to do with a running back is tackle him. And you can't tackle Ashton Genty by yourself. We'll see how it fares at the NFL level, but I still definitely think that he is going to be a scary player at the NFL level. And with the Cowboys, he might just be that little bit of glimmer of hope after this poor season that kind of makes the Cowboys go, do you know what? Maybe it isn't all bad. Jerry Jones, give up power, man. You are ruining that franchise. I don't mind, but Dolphins, going to go safety, Malachi Starks. The Dolphins will need some help in the secondary. But I think Malachi Starks is another player out of Georgia where you're getting very high value from a player despite the position. Safeties probably aren't the highest ranked, but you are still getting a lot of value from Malachi Starks. 14, Colts. Now, this really depends on what the Colts do in free agency. But we're not thinking about free agency. Let's just say if the draft was today. If the draft was today, They go for my man. And I'm upset that I'm drafting him here at 14 because I'm a Broncos fan. And I would have loved for him to fall to 20, but I don't think he will. Colts get in tight end Tyler Warren. Scary talent. 6'6", but plays with like such a je ne sais quoi. Like, just a lovely touch that is brilliant. 8 touchdowns received this season. 98 catches, 128 targets, 1,100 yards. Nuts. Absolute beast of a player. 15 now. We're going to go back to edge because I've got the Falcons taking Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. One of those players where he could be drafted top 10. You could see him maybe go to New Orleans. I think they'll go Mikael Williams instead. But I think Falcons is a very good pick for him. From the Falcons side, Falcons' future, is it looking bright, Falcons fans? However many Falcons fans are here, one Falcons fan, I don't know. But I just think, get some help on the defensive side of the ball. I think your offense is, you got the pieces there, but get some help on the defensive side of the ball, and who knows, you might be an 8 or 9 win team next season. Who knows? At 16, I'll be surprised if he falls this far. Jelon Walker is one of these players where he could go top 15. He could go bottom 15. If you get what I mean. Yeah, Jelon Walker to the Cardinals. I think that'll be a very good pick for them. 17, going to select the next best corner in the draft after my man Will Johnson. Going to go Benjamin Morrison. With him, I think it's really just injuries. How is he going to come back from that injury? If he comes back remotely anything like the player that he played like, then you have got a potentially elite corner. But it's really just about that injury. Again, the draft isn't for 4 or 5 months. So we'll see what happens between now and then. But scary talent. Benjamin Morrison, just need him to come back from that injury, right? And the Bengals, I should probably talk about the Bengals. I think we all know they need serious help on that defensive side of the ball. You can't have an MVP level quarterback, 2 top 10 receivers, and not make the playoffs. So defense needs that improvement. Benjamin Morrison, if he's fit, will be a good pick. Seahawks, there's only one thing you need, and that is offensive line. And after Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks, and Will Campbell, it gets very interesting because you've got all of these tackles here from Ariante Ursary, who will be a bit of a project, but has got very nice fundamentals, very high upside if you're able to really work on him. Could be another scary talent. Quite a big tackle as well. Got Wyatt Millen through West Virginia, who I'd say outside of those guys probably is the most polished. 4-year starter. So again, incredibly polished. Look how many snaps he's played at left tackle. Loads. 1 snap at right tackle. And then you've got a few projects, a few interesting players. Like you've got Gray Zabel, another one off the North Dakota State conveyor belt of tackles. Played a lot of snaps at left guard, a lot of snaps at right tackle. I didn't actually know that. Then you got someone like Jonas Savannah. Some people talking about him being a center possibly. And then you got Charles Grant, smaller side of the tackles. Does his size limit him at NFL level? If you watch some of Charles Grant's tape at William and Mary, he's an absolute monster. But Seahawks, I'm waffling now. Seahawks will go Wyatt Millen. I think that will be the best pick. Texans, give him a good guard. Let's give him a good guard. We'll go Tyler Booker out of Alabama, and has the potential to be a very good guard. And on someone like the Texans, where you've got a lot of pieces where, he could kind of slot into a team that I think has got a winning culture at the moment, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. Oh, next up, my Denver Broncos. We could go in a lot of different kind of directions. We could go receiver. We do need to pair someone up with Cortland Sutton. Vele, I like him, but is he at a level yet where you could consistently, put him on the outside? I don't think so. And then obviously we've got Marvin Mims, who's been coming very good the last few weeks. But we do need receivers. We need more weapons for Bo Nix. My prince, Bo Nix. Thank you for giving me all the joy. And we'll go with Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Coming into this draft, a lot of people would have thought that he would have been the number one tight end on the board. Even maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, a lot of people thought that. But, I think Tyler Warren has just shown that he's got a bit more upside. Colston Loveland, though, still a very, very, very good tight end. And, I wouldn't be mad at it at all. 82 targets, 56 receptions, 582 yards. And this is in a year where he had pretty poor quarterback play at Michigan. So I'm not mad at it. Right, let's fire through these ones because we're hitting the 30-minute mark. But 21, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, bolster that defense, get a physical, big edge rusher, Shamar Stewart, someone that's going to pancake a bunch of offensive linemen. Very, very good season at Texas A&M. Could he go before his other teammate Nick Scotton? Who knows? But I think Shamar Stewart to Tampa Bay, it feels nice. It feels nice. I haven't watched a lot of Tampa Bay this season, but they need an edge. That's one thing I can tell you for free. 22, Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't like drafting wide receivers in the first round. However, Pittsburgh, please draft a wide receiver in the first round because you need it. George Pickens needs help. You can tell he needs help. They could go tight ends, but first 2 tight ends are off the board, and I like Gunnar Helm, but I think it's Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, and then the rest, to be honest. But Pittsburgh, we're going to go wide receiver, Luther Bird in the third. Not a very good season at Mizzou, but I don't think that's really his fault. And yeah, he's a slot receiver. He is he is a slot receiver. But I think with George Pickens, then you can line up Luther Bird in the slot. And it's not going to take a lot away from him. Last season, incredible. 1,200 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. This season, it's basically halved. But I think every NFL scout will know that is not his fault in the slightest. So yeah, Pittsburgh, I can see that one. Might be shocked about that one, but we'll go with Luther Burden. At 23, we've got the LA Rams. And they do need help at tight ends, maybe on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm going to go for a very, very exciting player. We're going to go with East Carolina corner, Savon Ravel. Now, scary talent. The only question is that injury. Does he come back the same? I think, yeah, he probably will. It's actually pronounced Savon, not Chavon, apparently. But proper sneaky good corner. 6'3" cornerback. Obviously 193. But 2 interceptions of the year in 3 games. Like, it's just nuts. His upside is stupid. And I think on the Rams, he'll be a dog. Green Bay, we're going to go back-to-back corners. We're going to go with another good cornerback out of Ole Miss. These two, Savon Ravel and Trey Amos. I do think it's Benjamin Morrison and Will Johnson in kind of like that 1 and 2. And then you've got players like Savon Ravel, Trey Amos. And then it's a bit of another gap. And you've got like Jardé Barron, Zay Alexander. And then down here, you should have Mr. Kobe himself. His name might get him quite far. He's not going to go 236. He'll go a lot higher than that. But for Green Bay, we're going to go with Trey Amos. Could go wide receiver, but I think Green Bay will be safe with Trey Amos, a player that doesn't have a lot of draft potential. Could be a very safe pick for them. 25, we've got the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they need help for Ladd McConkey. They've got Quentin Johnson. He has made some good catches this year. But LA, if you're serious about getting far in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, You want a hardball run? Get yourself a good wide receiver and make it a Ibuka out of Ohio State. He has to share the ball a bit, so his stats aren't going to jump off the page. You've got a very, very good wide receiver here. 26, this is where we start kind of just like picking fun players. 26 Washington, let's go James Pierce Jr. Absolute monster. Absolute monster. Down as an edge. Edge in the box, can kind of do a bit of both. 6'5". Just look at a picture of this guy. Massive, massive dude. 8 sacks this year. 13 sacks last year. 21 sacks in the last 2 years. In college in 13 games. Is nuts. 43 Harrys this year as well. He's just been Weapon X this year. Absolute animal. Not Brian Dawkins, Weapon X. But just Weapon X in general. 27 Ravens. We're going to try and bolster that offensive line. Get them a bit more help. Give them a tiny bit of a project. But a player that, if you can start well, you have a very good tackle in AmericanTj. 6'6", really nice size, 330. Has played snaps at left tackle 3 years. Couple at left guard, couple at right tackle. Will he move to guard in the NFL? We don't know yet. A lot of these tackles could move to guard. A lot of them could, but I do really like AmericanTj. 28, Minnesota Vikings. Let's go for the friend of Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham this year, they'll put the offensive line in a phone box, in the telephone booth. And they'll be like, right, fight us now in this telephone booth. And they beat you up, man. They really, really do. I think Kenneth Grant will be, a very solid NFL interior defensive lineman. Has the fundamentals right. Has got, really nice speed for his size. And yeah, I think he'll be a very good interior defensive lineman, especially if he goes to a team that's winning as well. If he can jump into a winning culture, then he'll do very well. Buffalo Bills will go interior defensive line, Tyleik Williams. Number 30, going to go for a very exciting linebacker out of Alabama. A guy that some people think he might drop into the second round. I think you'd be silly to let him drop if you're one of these kind of teams in this kind of like 26 to 32 selection. Because if you put him amongst other good players, he will just fly. He will absolutely fly. And for the Eagles as well, they love a defensive player, don't they? They're a good one. Kansas City Chiefs, got to give them a bit of a tiny bit of a project. I'm going to go against my notes. I'd originally gone Derek Harmon, but I think he's too much of a bit of a project. We'll go defensive tackle out of Mississippi, Walter Nolan. Again, not a player that I've watched a lot, but from what I have seen, very competent defensive tackle, and has had a crazy year just in terms of his kind of numbers. Obviously, numbers at the NFL level, they don't mean a lot, but his numbers do just jump off the page. 26 hurries, 6 sacks, over 500, almost 600 defensive snaps. Another very good interior defensive lineman in a class where you've got players like, TJ Sanders, Walter Nolan, Dion Walker. He's not going to go in my first round. I don't want to spoil it for the second round, but he might go in the second round. Another player that is very raw when it comes to the fundamentals, but you look at this kid's size, power, and just kind of like overall like approach to getting after the quarterback, and he is scary. We'll need a lot of work. Granted, we'll need a lot of work, but this kid, if he can go to the right team, then wow. He's one of those players where sometimes he disappears and you don't even know that he's playing, and other times like you can't help but know he's playing. I didn't mean to draft Dion Walker. I did not mean to draft Dion Walker. This should be Walter Nolan. Let's pretend that this is Walter Nolan. And then Edge. And then Lions, last but not least. Will they win the Super Bowl? Will they have the last pick? I don't know. However, I like Princely, Uman, Mielen. I'm not the biggest fan of Ashton Gillot. Have watched some of his tape. Not saying I'm not the biggest fan, but just I think compared to other value in the draft you can get. But I like Jack Sawyer, man. I really like Jack Sawyer. Ever since that defense has kind of been shifted around at Ohio State, given the defensive coordinator a bit more control over it. Jack Sawyer has just been flying. And a lot of NFL teams have seen the potential for a very good edge rusher. If this guy drops to the second round, whatever team that take him, I think they're getting the bottom of the first round value for a player that realistically has played at a second round level but has first round potential. Definitely has first round potential. 9 sacks off the edge, 13 hits, 32 hurries. He's had a very good season. I'm going to go with, where is he? Jack Sawyer. If you've skipped here, then I didn't mean to draft Dion Walker there. Who knows? Maybe the Chiefs do draft Dion Walker in the first round. Who actually knows? Just too much of a project for me. But yeah, that's my first round projection. That's how I think it might go. Just scroll down a tiny bit. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shador, Will Campbell, Will Johnson, Tetero McMillan, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Mikael Williams, Kelvin Match Jr., Josh Simmons, Ashton Genty, Malachi Stark, Tyler Warren, Nick Scorton, Jalone Walker, Benjamin Morrison, White Millum, Tyler Booker, Colson Loveland, Shamar Stewart, Luther Burden, the third, Savon Ravel, Trey Amos, Emeka Ibuka, James Pierce Jr., Arionte Ursary, Kenneth Grant, Tyleek Williams, Gia Campbell, not Dion Walker, Nolan, and then number 32, Jack Sawyer to the Lions. So that was my full first round NFL mock draft. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. As I said in the video, I have watched a lot of these players' tapes, but not some of them. So some of this I am going based off of scouting reports, but I'm going to be watching more tape. I will get a lot more comprehensive insight on some of the later round players for you when we do a 2-round mock draft, because a 2-round mock draft is going to be difficult. I need to get a lot of tape on guys that could potentially go in the second round. Only got 2 quarterbacks going in this year's first round, but second and third round are going to be very exciting. So if you do want to see a second round mock draft, you know what to do. Hit like, comment down below, subscribe as well, because I hear that subscribing is like a really big thing on YouTube, and you're supposed to tell your viewers to do that. So subscribe. I've got like 26 subscribers as I upload this. But also just go check out my TikTok if you haven't watched my TikTok. Some of you might be from the TikTok, but if you haven't watched TikTok, then go to the TikTok. Peace.